It has been over a year since we have had a taste of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but with WandaVision, we finally have something to sink our teeth into. For the uninitiated, WandaVision is Marvel's first of many Disney Plus original series. For those that can't be bothered watching a full review and you just want to know, is it worth watching? Yes, absolutely it's worth watching. It's very weird, it's very, very weird, but it's great. It really is good and I'd suggest you give it a chance. But for those who want to know more, come with me. I'm going to take a wee dive into the first 2 episodes and we're going to see what we can dig up. First of all, I just love the presentation of the show. It is so wildly different from anything we've seen from Marvel before. It is stylistically different from the movies, the TV shows, the one-shots, whatever else they've made. It is all just wildly new and it's a bit jarring for the first maybe minute and a half or so, and then you kind of readjust your brain and you realise, oh, they're going all in on this kind of show. You can tell that they've put a lot of time and effort and craft into making this show look really authentic while they're trying to parody or pay homage to previous sitcoms of the past. The biggest thing that I think needs praising and has been getting praised by everyone, frankly, is the cast. They make this whole thing entirely believable. There's a main 3 that keep coming into mind for the 3 that just kind of tie the authenticity of the show together. Obviously 2 of them being Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany because they're the main characters and they are so entertaining to watch. Elizabeth Olsen, is fantastic. She looks like she belongs in a 50s sitcom. She has clearly done her research and she just looks the part. She looks the part, she acts the part, and then when she has to do those wee kind of something's not quite right moments, she just snaps out of it. It's amazing to watch. It's such a joy. And it's really nice to get to see Paul Bettany get to sort of show us what he can really do outside of just playing that android robotic character of Vision. He really gets to flex his kind of comic muscles and just be a bit more wild and kind of wacky, and it's great. He's so good at it. But I want to talk about one character in particular, Agnes, played by Catherine Hahn, the next door neighbour. First of all, she was made for this role, Catherine Hahn. She's everything she says is perfect. The delivery is just beautiful. She looks the part. She just blends right in. However, I was going to get to this, but since we're here, I'm going to talk about it just now because it's fresh in my head and I just want to get it out. But seriously, if you're watching it again, watch Agnes, Catherine Hahn's character. Everything she does is like, there's something a wee bit not quite right. Just keep your eye on her because there's something about her character. Every time she's on screen, something ends up going wrong, or she has a comment to make, but it's got a kind of double meaning. And if you think about the double meaning, it ends up sounding very sinister. She's just one to watch, and I think something about her character is going to be a big twist or reveal later on in the show that'll be turn the whole thing on its head.
Am I dead?
No. Why would you think that?
Because you are.
And with this being a Marvel show, you know that everything's got a little, everything's got a subtext, everything's got another layer, everything's an Easter egg to something else. Her character is called Agnes, but there's a lot of speculation that she's going to be the comic character Agatha, who does play a huge role in the Scarlet Witch character arc. So while we're talking about Easter eggs, I might as well talk about these ads that play in the middle of every episode. I think, and it seems to be the kind of general consensus, that these are a timeline of the events that happened to Wanda. The first one being in episode 1 with the toaster, the ad for the toaster. That is a subtle hint, Easter egg reference to the Stark Industries bomb that landed in Wanda and Pietro's house, and they sat and waited for it to go off and they just saw Stark's name and that was what made them side with Ultron. And then obviously in the ad that you just hear the tick, 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 tick. So I'm thinking it's not a very heavy-handed hint. And in episode 2 you had the advert for the watch, which was the Strucker watch. Baron von Strucker, the guy who held them captive and gave them their powers. So it kind of begs the question, how many of these are we going to see and what are they going to be in reference to? Like, are we going to get like an action figure for the Civil War encounter? Are we going to get a reference to the events of Infinity War, where she has to pull the Mind Stone out of Vision or something? I think it's fair to say these are more than just a wee kind of thing in the episode. They obviously mean something. Marvel is the king of Easter eggs, and this, I don't know exactly what the context is of it yet, but I think we're going to see more of them as the show goes on. As for references, there's been a bunch already, like too many for me to go over, but like the big ones I can think of are a couple of Thor references. The first one being when Wanda hands Vision the meat tenderizer. It's almost an exact replay of when Vision handed Thor the hammer in Age of Ultron. In episode 2, if you look at the magic box, the design on it, it's obviously the Mind Stone exploding as we saw at the end of Infinity War. Hell, even in the ad for the Stark Industries toaster, one of the sounds was the Iron Man repulsor blast sound. They're just absolutely cramming as many references as they can in, and I think that's because this show is obviously a fabrication of reality of some kind. And obviously, given that we saw the no scene it's Wanda that's doing it. She's in control of what we're seeing. We don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know really what's going on, but we know she's in control. Which would make all these Easter eggs actually make a lot of sense in the universe of the show, because all of these things have actually happened to her and they're all going to play a role in her subconscious or her psyche or whatever. So it's all perfectly relevant and makes sense. Obviously we've got these wee things at the end of each episode where she's being what we're seeing, someone watching what we're watching, and it's not so subtle that it's Sword. They haven't said it by name, but we've seen the logo twice now, and we know from the comics that it's a real thing and it exists. And we kind of had it hinted at the end of Captain Marvel. That was what people believe to be the Sword base up in space that Nick Fury was in. For those who don't know, Sword is the extraterrestrial equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D. basically. S.H.I.E.L.D. monitors all threats on Earth. Sword takes care of the big everything else. I find it interesting that they're kind of dropping that in without really mentioning it so far, because it's kind of a big deal in the comics. But again, it's Marvel. I don't think it's the last we're going to see those. That logo is playing an important part. It's, you know, it's prominent wherever you see it. So then is it the question, are Sword detaining Wanda in some way? Is she being held captive somewhere? Because we're hearing that voiceover. What are they doing to you, Wanda? What is this? Who is doing this to you, Wanda? Whose voice might be Jimmy Woo's voice from Ant-Man and the Wasp, the policeman from that. Everyone's in this. They've picked characters from like various other Marvel movies and they've all brought them into this show, and it's a really cool unifying effort. And of course we haven't even seen him yet in the show. There's so much of this show that's just like beneath the surface just now, and I'm really excited for the whole thing to just kind of, the roof pops off and all of it hits us at once and we're like, oh, we don't know what's going on. I just love the kind of mystery and the unknown surrounding this show. I think though, honestly, I think that this might be the sticking point for too many people, that it's too weird almost, because that was what excited me about Marvel Phase 4 in a large way, was that they're clearly going deep dive on a lot of their comics, and they're going to go a wee bit weird and a wee bit more out there. With like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'll come back to that in a second. But like this really is, it's a complete departure from what people would expect from a superhero show, and I've certainly seen a few people saying like, I don't really get it, what's going on, you know, I've not really seen very much, I don't think I'm going to keep watching. I think we're going to see in episode 3, things are either going to start kicking off and start progressing the story a bit more, or it's going to end on a cliffhanger and episode 4 is just going to blow the roof off of it, because I do think that if you keep going with this mystery of, we'll get the sitcom for the whole episode and then there's this 2 seconds at the end where you're like, oh, what? I think that'll get old pretty quick, so hopefully they're aware of that as well, and they make episode 3, potentially episode 4, the things that kind of kick the show into high gear. Back to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, this show absolutely, almost definitely should tie in with that, because Elizabeth Olsen is appearing in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but there's definitely going to be something linking these two. I apologise for this review being a bit kind of all over the place. I watched the show on Friday and didn't get a chance to record it for a couple of days after, so there's some things that are kind of fuzzy in me, but the next episodes I'm going to be a bit more on it for reviewing. But I'm just really excited because this has been so exciting, being able to talk about Marvel stuff again. It's been so long, and just getting that excitement and being able to speculate and theorise, oh, how's this going to go? What character is that a reference to in the comics? That alone to me is like, I'm just as excited that we've got that part of the community and the culture back from Marvel. I'm just as excited about that as I am about the show, to be honest. I'm getting enough of a rush from just the theorising. So yeah, the future episodes of this will be hopefully a wee bit more focused, but WandaVision off to a great start. Like, I cannot wait. I'm loving that we're getting them released week by week, because it lets you sit and stew over the episodes for a week, you know? You're going to sit and think about them, and then you go back and maybe watch a wee scene or watch an episode, and oh, it's just amazing. I'm really glad it's back, and I'm really glad we've got it as a series rather than a movie. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching. If you like this and you're as excited as I am, keep watching, subscribe, all that stuff. Give me a like, give me a follow on social media, whatnot. I'm going to be around. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.